Okay, so here we are. I'm cleaning out the sunflower trays. I let them dry out a little bit to let the roots dry. That way I can separate the gravel a little bit more easily. And once the silicone mats are free, you can kind of bunch them up to hold the seeds inside. I just kind of dump them over the side. It'd be nice to have something completing with all the poison coming out. Silicone mats are reusable. I'm going to go in and wash them. You can see it's pretty easy to get the roots out of them. If they're dry, they rub out easier, so I'm trying to replant before they've had a chance to get completely dry. That's no big deal. As they say, it all comes out in the wash. Keeping the gravel off. Everything's reusable. Seeds on one side, roots on the other usually. These have started to get a little bit of mold on them, so I'm probably going to clean them up. A little bit of Clorox this time. I usually use hydrogen peroxide to keep them from getting nasty. You can see I can just blow these out of the way. Even an old guy with COPD can do this. Break up some of the roots. You don't really have to get it all out. The only problem is if you have any mold or algae or whatever carryover. And again, this is easier to do if they're all the way dry. But that's what I get for being impatient. These out of here, get the rocks off the back. Dump the seeds in the yard. You can't have too many sunflowers around. And I got another clean mat. It's a beautiful day on the highway here. Lots of extra noise. People are always speeding, even in the rain. Right now we're between little squalls. And yeah, these things. Could use a thorough cleaning this time. This is actually the 8th. This will be the 9th crop that I'm putting in these since I actually started with clean plates. Since the seeds have all the energy they need in them, you can kind of start with a sterile environment. So using hydrogen peroxide, or once it gets bad like this, putting a little bleach on it isn't really going to hurt. So we'll wash these and be back. Okay, so we've got clean trays, clean gravel, it's relatively clean, and clean mats. Once I checked the mats out, they didn't need to be bleached or anything like that. Nothing sticks to this, not much sticks to this, and all these took was spritz of my diluted soap spray that I normally use for dishes, and a knuckle brush. And to clean the gravel, I just run it between this and a colander that I have, just running it back and forth. to blow out as much of the organic matter as I can. So we're going to use about half the gravel. More little pieces. Spread this out. It's really just making a base so that the roots can dig in. Got a little ladybug there. How about that? They're fake ladybugs, unfortunately. Here in western Pennsylvania, we've been invaded by those Asian things. And they happen to see my house as a great breeding place. So I literally get thousands of them in here every winter. And I suppose they help kill some kind of bugs. And the idea is that this just has to be laid down even and flat. So I always pat it down with my hands. You can feel how flat it is. When I put the seeds on here, you'll see when I take it downstairs to where the grow chamber is, I'll cover these with the seeds once they're on the mat with linoleum. This pressure and the trays above it are going to give it a way to pressurize the seed, forcing the roots down into the medium. I only let the middle overlap a half an inch or so, not to waste it, but you're really only putting the seeds where the rocks are and where the mat are. So each patch is going to end up with 2 ounces of seed to start. I start soaking 8 ounces, which is only up to here, and fill it up with water to the 12 ounce mark, and you can see it. So in 24 hours it soaked up the water, and over the past 48 hours the sprouting has actually started. So I kind of loosen them up from the size of the container here and just kind of dump about. After a little bit of experience, you'll kind of know where you're at. You can always use the measurements if you're using a mason jar that has measurements to get it even closer. But it's not a big deal. Get these in here. You don't have to worry about which way the roots are going. They are going to go down. And having roots above the medium isn't going to hurt any, because once these things are spread out, the kind of the Kratky effect takes place. Even if you get the water outside all the way up to the mat, there's still going to be some root above, so that they don't drown out. And the idea here is just to pat them in here and get them roughly as evenly as you can. Not a big deal. And not all of them sprout. These seeds are actually, they were bought 3 summers ago. When you buy them by the 40-pound bag, you have plenty. And of course these are the same seeds that I feed to my birds when I feed them. Haven't really set that operation up here since I moved, except for the hummingbird feeders. Okay, that's the first tray. Get the second tray all spread out the same way. Of course, get the mats on there first. Overlap the mats a little bit. The mats themselves will help you see how level you've gotten the gravel. And get the seeds out. And spread. Now when these are covered with a linoleum, they're going to be in the dark. Seeds want to be in the dark generally, this kind anyway, when they sprout. And so the linoleum on top and the tray that's sitting on top to give it pressure, again that pressure allows the roots to dig down and the seeds to try to push up. And that helps force the root down. They stay covered for a few days, and they're going to end up jamming the roots through this mesh into the rocks. And that was the roots and stuff that you saw when I cleaned them. I always show you the hard part first. And get these over here on the other tray. Fill in empty spaces. It's a Pink Floyd song right now, but I will spare you. Okay. And a lot of times the stuff that sticks to the inside of the jar is going to be dead ones anyway, or the ones that are empty. So again, you don't have to be too picky about any of this. Okay, so we have 2 trays, and they're covered with seeds now. I'm going to stop this and move the operation downstairs. Okay, we're down here in the basement. This is a workbench. It's kind of being lit up right now by not just the room light over my shoulder, but by the chamber itself. I've taken out one of the barriers. I've got my clean linoleum strips here, and I'm going to lay those down on top of the seeds. This all just happens to work out to give a nice surface to help equal out the seeds themselves, and also to allow a tray on top to apply equal pressure and equalize it. Of course, this stuff is fairly cheap, and it's designed to take weight. You can get it wet, and it doesn't really bother it. You can clean it easily, and it's even better if you just happen to have some around. So I've got all my seeds there ready for pressure. I'll take another tray and set it on top. Here we're setting it on top directly, and that bottom kind of applies pressure around the seeds themselves. You can see, of course, it's kind of a mirror of the top, and that allows everything to be kind of even. I'm going to go ahead and add the water, and I add that from the end, or I guess in this case I can reach the middle when I have it off the top. I know in this case here that this takes about 12 ounces for these trays. So I'm going to get the water in here. Just use regular tap water that's been dechlorinated just by letting it sit. And I'm going to not let you see the juggling as I get these up into the tray here, and I'll give you a shot of that on the way out here. Okay, so now both of the trays are in the grow chamber. The grow chamber is nothing but a shelf on a gorilla rack. These gorilla racks are 18 inches deep and 4 feet wide, and so they perfectly hold 4-foot LED shop lights. So with 4 of them packed in there, you're getting about 70% daylight when you're this close to them. Got a thermometer in there to be able to keep track of what's going on and be able to take measurements and things like that as I take my records. The popsicle sticks are there to level everything off. The trays are right side up on top right now, and they're under pressure so that with the water that's in there, it's going to last until they have to come out from pressure, and probably beyond, and we'll see that too. And that's all it takes for the first part. The last step in the process that I didn't show you before we covered them is to hit them with the hydrogen peroxide spray. My spray bottle just happens to fit right on top of a standard topical solution flavored bottle. And I close the chamber up, and that allows it to get some more warmth. Even in the wintertime, I can get 75 degrees in there, and they just love to sprout and grow in the sunshine. That's what they think anyway. Okay, I've got the sprout chamber open. We soaked the seeds in water for a day, and then they were left in the jar for 2 days to sprout. 2 days ago, I spread them out here. Technically, this is day 6, and I'm about to just go ahead and invert the covers here after removing them. This is where we also give them another shot of hydrogen peroxide, especially if they've needed it, because they've been sitting in a 75-degree space there. And you can kind of smell the organic activity. Go ahead and wipe down my... There'll still be a couple sticky seeds sometimes to the bottom of the linoleum. You can see that they've started digging down. There's a little bit of water that's gone here. 1 or 2 of them are even getting the effort to stand up. And that's the next step, is to get them to stand up. And they're going to try to jump up at that point and reach for the sky, because we're going to cover them. And that's kind of what forces them to do that reach thing. These are actually even flexing the linoleum here, pushing up against it. Haven't yet figured out the easiest way to wiggle this off the top here so that we don't have any sticking, so it's not a big deal. You just knock them back down in there. If they grab, they grab. If they don't, they don't. It's not 100% kind of a process. Spray everything down with a little bit. You see a little bit of foaming action when you put the hydrogen peroxide on it. Like I said, I'm just taking a regular bottle and it's put a sprayer head on it. It's no big deal. It doesn't hurt them. It just hurts any fungus or anything that's had a chance. Now again, we're going to put these back under the light to keep them warm. But all I'm going to do is invert this on top of here. That gives it a lid. It's going to press up, and that allows these stems to stand up and gives the microgreen some weight to the stem. That's kind of where the crispiness comes in. And this one goes back in the chamber here. Pull the other one out. Each of these off here. These ladybugs, I'm telling you, I don't know what they're doing here. It's not like I have an aphid problem. I understand they put out pheromones, and they've kind of been using my house since it was unoccupied for a time before I bought it. All kinds of things colonized this place. My cat catches bats and cliff swallows, barn swallows in here. He's caught a couple snakes, one that was too big and a couple that were small enough for him to play with, and mice and voles. So I call him Night Shift, because he's up there asleep right now. Now some of these ones that are at the edge have gotten a little bit green. It's not a big deal. The whole purpose of inverting this on top here is to get them to push up against it. And that's when we uncover them, is when they've reached the top and are starting to try and bend out and grow along the side. So we take this, still has water in it, so you got to be careful, and that's why I'm doing it slow, to get it around into the chamber. camera off the tripod here. Let's see that. So now they're in there, and they're essentially in the dark, but they're under the light so that it stays warm. I've had this open, and you can kind of see right now at about 75 degrees or so. Anyway, that's the deal. Put my barrier back in because I'm done filming on the table. There's a air space, a gap space where that's where the bugs are coming and going, and of course it's okay. So we're gonna open up the sprout chamber here. Hopefully the camera handled that light change okay. We've got the trays in there, and we lift the lids on the trays that have been inverted. This is day 8. We see that things have reached up to the top of the underside of the trays, and they're ready to take off now. We've got the little sprouts with all their seeds on there. And we'll zoom in on the tray here. And so we have some microgreens. There's a patch in the center towards the back in here that did get a little bit of mold on it. I didn't soak the seeds in water and hydrogen peroxide like I usually do because I didn't get it at the store until the next day. And we'll pull the other cover off the other side here. It's about 75 degrees in there, by the way. And the counter thermometer is measuring 55 down here in the basement. It's still cold outside. It got down to 17 degrees last night. Take the second tray lid off, and we see that we got plenty of sprouts in there. I could have actually maybe opened these things up last night. You can see they're a little bit bent out of shape, but if I crank this whole setup down a little bit here, you can see that we're really only a couple inches away from the lights. And so that's where we're headed next, is to get those things light. So now all we're going to do is cover up the chamber and wait some more. By the way, the water situation is that there's still standing water in the bottom of the trays. So I'll probably start the daily watering tomorrow morning. Looks like these will make it through the night. I'll keep an eye on them and I'll check them before I go to bed. Okay, sprouts are up and reaching to the light. This is the day after I uncovered them, and it's time to knock off a few of the hulls and give them some water. Okay, this tray I've just given about 8 ounces of water to get the level up almost to the level of the silicone mat, and you can contrast that with this one that still has the holes on it. Lots of times you can just brush them off if they're ready to fall off. Of course they're designed to fall off by themselves, but we're growing these for the greens, so we want to kind of help them a little bit so that they open up evenly and nicely. And get in there. And it's still kind of a jumbled mess, and that'll kind of get sorted out. And maybe you can see some of them, but it looks like the culprit again is the stupid fungus gnats, and they probably came back because I didn't sterilize the gravel. So after the next round I'll do that, and either way these are going to be fine. Like I said, when you spray them with hydrogen peroxide, it takes out any of the fungus, and doesn't hurt you or I, and they're still delicious, and they still keep in the fridge for several weeks easily. Okay, I've got some sprouts all ready to go. This is actually the very last of the stragglers from the last batch. which were harvested on March 1st. Today is March 20th, and so those are plenty old sprouts, almost 3 weeks off after harvest. You can see I'm about to put them on a sandwich on a nice thick bed of Miracle Whip. One is going to be salami and provolone, and the other one is, and that's with the Dijon mustard, and the other is going to be turkey and cheddar on hot mustard. Ready to go. Ready to close them up. You can see that little bit of a at the bottom of a baggie was enough, plenty enough for 2 sandwiches. Use it just like lettuce in this case. And yes, we have a Homer Simpson moment. I used the tops of the buns for one sandwich and the bottoms of the buns for another sandwich. There you go. They're going to taste just as good. Okay, it's day 11 of this round of sunflower microgreens, and it's 75 degrees in the chamber, and they're just doing really well. A lot of the stems are really curly because I probably let them sprout too long. They were soaked for about 23 hours, but they had actually ended up spending about 36 hours in the jar after draining, and they didn't have to go that long. Nonetheless, I'm going to be cutting these all down today and harvesting the whole thing for a couple reasons. First of all, just because this is day 11 and it'll be the quickest harvest, and second of all, a lot of them are actually showing the second set of leaves and are really ready to go. There's no reason not to cut them. The second reason is I've started to notice the little fungus fleas, and I'm going to attribute that to not having sterilized the media when I washed the mats and the trays. Of course, they came perfectly clean, but I only rinsed the rocks, and it's possible that some eggs made it through that. So I'm going to cut these all down today and probably move the camera upstairs to show you that little operation. Okay, so we got 2 trays of microgreens ready to cut here. For reasons I described earlier. There's some of the hulls that are still on. Normally I would leave ones like this for a second round of cutting. Today I'm just going to pull those off, and I'll either eat them along with the stragglers and weirdos, as I call them. When something's damaged like this, I don't save it for everybody else to eat. I eat it myself right there on the spot. You know, you gotta give the ox his pay. So I'm going to zoom out here and show you a little bit of the cut and snip process that goes on here. Okay, so the basic strategy here is just to kind of go in at the bottom of everything. I've got a long pair of scissors so I can cut across multiple ones if I feel like it, but I'm not going to be broad cutting them because especially the way that these are curled at the bottom, you could lose 10% of your crop by weight just by not cutting all the way down to where the roots start. Always trying to check ahead of time. Throw them into the bag a few at a time is one of the ways to avoid throwing the seed hulls into the bag, is to just not cut so many at a time, and then just pay attention to what you're putting in the bag. I've been known to deliberately put hulls that I pull off into the bag, but see, like this one almost got away here. Just got to pull it off. If it doesn't come off easily, or if it breaks the seed, those are the ones that I eat right away. But I'll just rotate the tray in front of me here to be able to keep kind of going in from the side and work my way in. And any of the ones that I drop back into the plants, I'll throw in there. But if I drop one on the floor or outside on the table, that's another one that you give to the ox for doing his job. That would be me, of course. Some of you probably know that scripture reference. So that's basically the deal. I'm not going to show you every single one here. It probably takes about 15 minutes or so to cut through the whole tray, and I won't even bother speeding that up because in order to get this out earlier, I'm going to go ahead and not do fancy editing on it. But if you know my YouTube channel, you know that I'm not a fancy editor for most stuff as a documentarian. I just go for that cinema verite. Those will actually kind of open up in the bag a little bit while they're in storage. I just ate the last round of sprouts. Was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? So I can grow these, you know, relatively quickly. This is day 11 for this these trays, and the most I ever have to let them go is 14, maybe 15 days, and by that point these true leaves have gotten almost as big as the cotyledons, and by the time they get to that point, the cystolith hairs on the leaves might give some people a problem. I digest them and I consider it dietary fiber. Even if I eat them raw in a salad, they don't bother me. But if you find that they do, just make sure to get them as soon as they're seen. Of course, any of these here that are actually showing them are ready to harvest as microgreens. So anyway, we'll just keep going through. These short little stragglers, they get eaten right away. No sense putting that in the bag. Okay, there's kind of the first scorched earth trimming of the first tray. This was the good tray. There was less than 10% of this that didn't sprout because of the potential fungus issue there. Every once in a while we get these cool things like albinos and triplets and things like that in there, and those usually get eaten right away. I'm going to go ahead and get a new bag so that I can cut the second tray to differentiate them. The second tray has a big bald spot in it in this area here, and so we've lost a quarter of each side here, so I know the yield here is going to be down 25% anyway, and we'll verify that when they get on the scale. More cutting. Basically, you're pulling up to stretch out each stem, and then snipping it as close to the roots as you can when you're cutting them all out individually like that. Here goes. And there we have the second tray and the harvest from the second tray. So I'll get in and weigh these and report back in just a second. So the total yield was 71.1 grams from the first tray, and 57.8 grams from the second tray. Total of 128.9 grams, or 4.54 ounces. So there's 4.5 ounces of microgreens there, and I started with 8 ounces of 2-year-old seed, three-year-old seed. I've been here for 2 years now, and I bought that seed back in Taos, that bag of seed. And this crop had a lot of loss, 25% of one tray, and at least 10% of the other tray due to absolute non-starters. I probably lost a lot of weight because I didn't let it go for the 14 days just to be able to control that problem. The trays have already been sprayed down with my normal magic solution. Highly diluted Dawn makes a great bug spray. It'll take out hornets and wasps and a lot of things that crawl flies and everything. And so I'll be cleaning the gravel better this time for the next round. So there you have it. One of these bags, this bag for instance is 2 good salads. This one here is 4 good sandwiches, because when you get them all tied up in a bundle like that, once they've compacted themselves, they fluff up pretty nicely. And I'll just add the usual salad stuff and have a salad with this for lunch today. So on top of a bed of a good ounce of sunflower microgreens, we've got CoJack cheese, shredded CoJack cheese, the Chinese noodles, the little Chow noodles, the crispy ones. There's soy wasabi almonds on top of that. And then I've got some tropical trail mix. That's where the bananas and the papaya come from, and some pineapple in there. And then that got like 7 twists from the pepper grinder, and that got vinaigrette, and onion vinaigrette put on top of that, and about a half-dozen croutons for more crunchiness of another kind, and bacon bits on top. Bon appetit. I'm going to go ahead and toss it for you here. There's about a handful of each of the ingredients except for the spices and croutons. And once you stir up the sprouts from the bottom, there's actually plenty of green in there that mixes with the other flavors. And to me, that's what a salad is. Everything in the salad bar that at least complements whatever flavor I'm going for. So here we go. You don't get to see. But I get to eat. Yum. Bye.